Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. Alright, hi friends, welcome. Today it's time for another roundup of some super spicy reads that I want to share with you guys. So time for some smut, time for some steam, time for some spice, whatever you want to call it, whatever you're sick of it being called, whatever. These are ones with some good times in them, okay? Some are emotionally steamy, some are just really hot, some it's a little more transactional. We'll talk about a few of at least one of those I have in here. But it was just time to do another one, okay? Every time that I see, which is often, that I see someone somewhere saying that those books are just porn, I get a little bit riled up, okay? And this time it's, of course, again, going on about the dragons, the Rebecca Yarros stuff, saying that just because there is sex scenes in the book, that it is then dragon corn or whatever. And y'all, I don't want to completely be on my soapbox. I've done it plenty of times before. I don't feel that I need to defend my reading choices, but I do get annoyed when I see other people who have entered into reading through books like this and now feel like they should be ashamed about it or they can't be excited. And that's what gets Jen real fired up about it, okay? People think that it's okay to degrade it and make it something dirty and icky, and that really pisses me off. So like I said, I wasn't going to go on a full rant, but whenever I see that, it gets my back up that I just want to make videos that are just recommending things with some good smut in it because I can. So this one today, of course, I don't recommend ones that are purely that. I still like there to be a very good story in it, but that doesn't mean it can't get, you know, to the 4 or higher with the steamy times, okay? So some of these, I pulled some from the Wayback Machine, just kidding, but from that are much older recs, so I don't remember them quite as perfectly, so just keep that in mind. But I will have links to all of them down below so you can go and snag them. So here we go. These are across all kind of subgenres, but they all have, at least on my chili pepper scale, 4 or more chili peppers. And what I mean by that is that there is definitely sex before 50% into the book. It is going to be a good amount of it in there. Usually there's a little bit of some kind of kink happening in it, some kind. And yeah, but it still will have some emotional pull to it, or else I'm not pulled to it. So first, I'm actually going to start with a fan fiction, because this was a fan fiction I read last year that I found extremely emotional and powerful, and it was also very sexy. And that is This Thing Between Us by Lady Hilder. So this one does have a focus on BDSM. Again, a few of these are going to have that. Not all of them do if you don't like that, but generally those type of books are going to have a lot more sex in it because you're usually having some kind of like sex deal. So the sex is starting, you know, as with some erotic romances, you're starting sex forward and emotions come later. And so that happens a lot in BDSM because people are able to compartmentalize that when, you know, when they're doing it that way. And This Thing Between Us is, of course, an enemies to lovers. It's a Dramini, and they're currently like kind of working together. They both work for the ministry, but Draco's actually working for a kind of like dark horror part of the ministry that's a little bit hidden. What they do is a little bit secret, but it's basically that of like, sometimes you need to use dark magic to fight dark magic. And since, you know, Draco is already someone who had been tapped into that before the war, he is brought in by some people within the ministry to use those skills to capture people who are still on the Death Eater side. But so there's part of his work that is known by Hermione and the people in the ministry, and part of it is a secret because the person that he's really working for is keeping it undercover. But anyway, so they're kind of working together. They're still very like enemies to each other. But it's also one of those where Draco has been secretly obsessed with her for a really long time. And there's one night where they both get kind of drunk at a pub and they have this bit of a spat, and they, you know, this or this happens. They end up in the back alley behind a pub and they fuck in the alley. And it's really hot and it's really dirty, and they realize that they're super attracted to each other. And so after another time or two of them like bumping into each other and having these almost feral interactions with each other, Draco kind of pulls it together and he's like, hey, let's make this a little more orderly. We're both into each other. You have kinks that match with mine. Let's just make this a regular thing. Let's do it, you know. So we do the kind of like contract thing, come up with that, get in a zone of what type of acts we want to do together, and we go from there. Now, again, this is one where we have steam throughout, starts early, and often it's in there, but this is the one where the emotional build is so good, and you go from there just being these hot scenes where you're getting to see all these different kinks that they do, to when the emotion really kicks in, and it just honestly became gut-wrenching. I cried multiple times reading this. This was a beautiful story. It was so good. It's a long one. It's a long journey, but Lady Hilder, man, they hit this so good. They're working on another fic right now, and they write really long fics, and I tend to not read the fic until it's done. I just can't handle the serialized nature of things. But I am following this fic, and I do like go in and like the entries, even if I'm not like reading it yet, to, you know, just encourage them and know that I'm excited for it. So anyway, I'll have a link to this on AO3. This is free, of course. Fanfiction should always be free. It always will be free. And yeah, it makes me very happy. Okay, now, as I said, I have some throwback ones for you. So this one's definitely on the more taboo end of things, for sure. And there's some people that are very disturbed by this book, very deeply disturbed by it. But you know what? Pam Godwin, she can write me any disturbing stuff she wants. So here we have Lessons in Sin. And yes, I really wanted to show off my lovely copy of this. This one is from, oh, who did this? Doesn't say it right on the back. Who did this version? Yeah, Books for Days Crate did this one. So yeah, this is a special edition of Lessons in Sin. So this is a standalone from Pam, but it did fit into, I think it's called like the Dark Valentine, or was it the Dark Hearts romance? Had all these books that were like loosely connected to each other in this like mafia type world. But in this one we have Tinsley, who she gets sent to basically this Catholic boarding school by her mother, who her mother is like this billionaire heiress, the head of a family, and she has marriage plans for her daughter, and her daughter is determined to fuck this up. So her mother sends her to this all-girls Catholic school, and the headmaster there is Father Magnus, and Father Magnus, he became a priest as a bit of a punishment to himself, in a way to keep himself more in line and in order because of some things that went wrong in his previous life. He actually used to be like a millionaire, billionaire, whatever too, and he gave pretty much all of it up to become a priest. And he's also extremely good looking, and all the girls at the school know this. And one of the surefire ways to get kicked out of this school is to hit on and or try to make a pass at Father Magnus. Not allowed. You're not allowed to do that. And so Tinsley, who does not want to be at this freaking school, is like, well, you know what I have to do then? I have to hit on Father Magnus and get him to, that'll get him to get rid of me, right? There's two pictures, I think, in here. Like that one at the end. So that's what she attempts to do. But Father Magnus, he knows what she's trying to do. And sorry, I'm showing this stuff off to you. It's beautiful. And he's not going to let her get away with that. So that means she needs to be punished, which means she starts having detention where she has to meet him and do what he asks her to do, which is sometimes cleaning, sometimes other humiliating tasks. But there's also a crazy tension between these two, and it does end up boiling into an illicit affair. That just happens. That's the type of story this is. Of course, she totes the line of she's just 18. That's why, you know, the story isn't going to work for everybody. Besides it being a priest taboo, it's also, you know, a pretty big age gap taboo as well. But I don't care. Pam Godwin writes it, and I believe it. This book also has one of the most moving scenes that I've ever read that had to do with a woman in her period, and the way that Magnus reacts to that, and what it's beautiful. Okay, so yep, very spicy, very taboo, quite the throwback. Ooh, I do have, oh, those are so pretty, so pretty. Let me see. Those are so sexy. Like, okay, there's no nips hanging out here, but we have a naughty scene right there. And then we also have, okay, I can't show you that one because we can see things. Oh, these Books for Days Crate, man. They made some freaking gorgeous additions. I still need to get my hands on Dark Notes somehow, but like, they're fantastic. Okay, then we have one that I just read, I think in November or December, and it's book 2 in the Fox Brothers series, and it is Bourbon and Secrets. Okay, I loved this one. This series is a bit of small town romantic suspense, but they're also very sexy. And in this one, we have our heroine who is undercover as a burlesque dancer. And what's interesting about that is when you're undercover as a burlesque dancer, she is actually doing burlesque. And she is actually a detective, what's it called? Private detective. But in this case, she's actually a private detective who is kind of like contracting with some law enforcement agencies to help discover I can't remember what type of ring it is, if it was a human trafficking ring or if it was drugs or what, I can't remember. But she's basically trying to catch the eye of this one wealthy businessman. And so she is making herself available to kind of this creepy older guy who wants her to be his like date and wants to get more with her and all those things. And she's using his weakness for a pretty girl to get information from him. And in the process of doing this, she actually has to do a kind of like tour in her small town because this man is actually kind of, I don't know if he's from the area or what his reason, but he has business in that area. So she gets what's it called, a residence at this bar in town, or this place in town. And it's actually a place that she left in a hurry a few years ago. And there's a man there who, he kind of had threatened her that if she comes back to town, he was going to get her in trouble. But, so anyway, I don't want to go into all of that. There's a lot of stuff that has to get unraveled. The point was, they are definitely enemies at the start of this, but when she comes back into town and now she's this burlesque dancer, there is this chemistry that they always had. But previously, like, he was married, his wife is now dead, so there was never anything with them in the past. There was just this chemistry, but nothing ever happened with them. They were like enemies after a certain night when some things went wrong. But now she's back in town and he is immediately suspicious of her, and she's there to do a job. So she's not here to placate him or make him feel better or apologize to him for things that happened before. She's there to do a job, but they can't help but be very much drawn to each other and very attracted to each other. But of course, this could also cause a problem because she needs to make this bad guy think that she's interested in him to do her work. So a bit of conflict of interest here. But once these two get going with each other, it is so hot. I wouldn't say that he is like a sub to her at all, but there are a few scenes where he wants her to like make him beg. So he's a bit of like topping from the bottom in some cases too, or like having her order him around to do that. Like, there's some hot scenes in here. It's great. And Victoria Wilder, you're not going to have a book in the Fox Brothers series that doesn't use bourbon in some way, so be prepared for that. And I think this one had squirting in it too. Can't recall, but like, it was hot. These were hot. He's also a single dad. He has 2 kids. He also has Highland cows and cute animals. So this has a little bit of everything, and it is, besides just being very sexy, it also very like cozy and everything too. So as I said, we are putting some throwbacks in here, and one of the series that, I'm just being honest, like, bury my soul here. When I was really getting more free about the books I was talking about and the type of erotic romance that I liked, Katie Robert was a big part of that. So I don't read much of her anymore, mostly because I just don't really care for the type of stories that she's doing now. But I liked her a lot 5-6 years ago. And a series of hers, I'd read her before, but a series of hers that really kind of just like shook me was her Wicked Villain series. And I just still think that people have reason to love this. I mean, I think this series was so well done. And I just love that. I just love that there is more of them coming out still. Sorry, my brain was just like, won't focus on anything. She has more that will be coming from these that are like a 2nd generation series, but that is the Wicked Villain series. And this is when she did her beautiful like hardcovers of these. They're now getting redone again by Source Books is doing them, I believe. So Learn My Less, or what's the first one? Desperate Measures just got a new release. But anyway, this one is book 2 in the series, and this is an MMF between Hades, Hercules, and Meg. Now, Meg and Hades have already been in kind of a long-term, like, open poly relationship, and things have gotten a little bit boring for them. And so we also have Hercules, who is kind of on the run from his family. He's not really interested in being a part of them anymore. This series does vaguely connect with her Olympus series, by the way, and this is one of the books that kind of connects the most with it of all of them. But he has ended up at this club, and he ends up accidentally getting involved in these games that Meg and Hades play with each other, and he thinks he's saving her from Hades when really she's in a long-term relationship with him, and he gets himself now owing a certain term of servitude to Hades. And Hercules thinks he's being so gallant and brave doing that. And Meg is like, you foolish boy, like, you fell for everything that he was trying to do. But now both Meg and Hades are kind of going to play with Hercules. But Hercules, being the young, eager, and enthusiastic golden retriever that he is, actually revitalizes their relationship in a way that they didn't expect. So, yes, this becomes an MMF, and Hercules is kind of topped by both of them at different points. There are sword crossing in here. There is, I can't remember if Meg pegs Hercules in this one. I think that does happen in here, but it's hot. And as I said, Katie Robert was definitely an awakening for me in a lot of ways as well. And so I'll always have a soft spot for her there for sure. Okay, then I want to share Uncivilized by Sawyer Bennett. Now, this is one that's going to make some people uncomfortable, but I'm not afraid to bring those out. So this is a bit of a Tarzan retelling in some ways. Our heroine is sent to find out if this man who his family had died. I can't remember if his family were missionaries. I think that could have been what it was, but he's basically been raised by this tribe in the jungle, and our heroine and a professor like go there to find out about him. And when they find him, she's supposed to bring him back to civilization, and he, you know, he may be coming back with her, but he's coming back with her because he wants her, not because he cares about civilization. So there is a lot of dubcon in the beginning phases of this, because in his world, like, that's how you become the mate of a woman, is you make her submit to you. So yeah, there's a lot of uncomfortable stuff in here if you don't like dubcon. Just don't read it, just don't. But I thought it was really hot, and I also like how, you know, he teaches her a lot about the passion that she's hiding inside, and he does learn a little bit, you know, of what a more healthy relationship might look like for things to be a good partner to her. So there is some give and take in it, but it is super hot. Okay, now I'm so excited to get to show this off because I finally have physical copies of some of these. So this is Hold by Claire Kent, and this was, I do believe, the very first Claire Kent I ever read. And this was going around many years ago. People were reading it because it is a transactional situation, and Claire Kent writes a lot of those. Actually, her newest romance that just came out, Devotion, also has that. And as I'll say every time, I am an assistant to Claire Kent / Noelle Adams, so just keep that in mind when I'm pimping out her books. But yeah, if you like Hold, you'll probably like Devotion, which actually just released. But this is actually about this woman, Rihanna, who gets sentenced to a prison planet, and it is a dark, primitive hold filled with convicts who are vying for power. Her only chance of survival is Kane, a mysterious loner who has won his territory in the prison through intelligence and brute strength. And he actually has a cell that locks, and he has the key to it, which might sound weird in a prison, but they're literally all just dumped in this prison. There's no way out. So the cells don't all necessarily lock, because you're not so much being kept in your room, you're being kept in the prison. So actually having a room that locks is a big positive. And she is like the only female who's there. So she needs to find someone to protect her. And so when she's actually being like lowered down into this prison, she's like a political prisoner type thing. She pissed off the government and she gets thrown in here. And literally the guard is like, find the strongest man there, make him an offer, of yourself, and let him protect you, because otherwise you're going to be a toy for all of these men like you just are. And so when she is taking a lay of the land, she has just a few moments to kind of like make her case. And so when she offers herself to Kane, because she sees that he has a room that locks and that he doesn't have quite the gleam of villainy in his eye that some of the others do, she quickly offers herself to him, and he's like, sure, like, I'm not going to turn down a warm body in my cell. So she, all she has to offer is sex, and so that's what she does. So literally, like, her first day there, she gets brought into his room, and they make this transaction, and now she's his to protect and take care of. And it's a good thing she picked Kane. That's all I have to say. So this is pretty quick. It's only like novella length. And again, yeah, this was the very first Claire Kent that I ever read. There is 4 books in this series. Some of them are on different prison planets. Some of them are in different worlds and everything. But it is actually the like 10-year anniversary of this. So definitely check. So I wanted to throw up Consider Me by Becca Mack. These ones have all gotten re-released recently too. I still need to catch up on this series, but these are hockey romances. This one is about Carter Beckett, and then the heroine is Olivia. And in this one, so he's considered a playboy in the ice and in the bedroom, and quite possibly the sexiest man to ever grace my field of vision, she says. But worst of all, he knows he is. So yeah, he's definitely very arrogant and cocky, but he finds her super interesting, and the fact that she like does not just like cave and let him like have her, she does make him really a challenge. So like, he really wants to get her, and she's just like, no. So this might not be to a lot of people's tastes, and I do definitely understand that, because, he definitely makes her a conquest. But that might be how it starts for him. But once they really start like verbally sparring with each other, he truly is interested in this woman, and I really love seeing that. And also this one is like, it's super hot. Like, this one's really sexy. And so, for her, she might be willing to kind of let them have sexy times, but she's not planning to share more of her heart with him. But in that pursuing of her, like, he's falling for more than just her body as well, which of course that's what we want to see. But yeah, I just remember having fond memories of this one, even if it did also have some overly dramatic aspects to it, especially the third act conflict in here. But I also thought it was just, Carter's very sweet. And one of the things I always say too about that series is that I really like Carter in the subsequent books as well, but you kind of got to read him in that one first before we see him in the other ones. Like, he's the best friend and the brother of characters in future books, and I really like reading that too. Okay, then there was a recent release that, I mean, this whole series is like so hot, I will tell you that. So there is Lessons with the Mothman. Look at this gorgeous art right here. She has like chapter art too, which I did not know. Like, look, there's Elias. Do we have the heroine? Let me see. Yeah, and Victoria. So in this book, we have Elias, who he's a freelance consultant for the Monster Smash series. This whole series is erotic romance with monsters, okay? And he is a rare moth fae. So he's never been in love, and he's never been interested in emotion. But when his friends have started mating with their clients, which that would be the previous 2 books that we've seen, he's getting kind of curious about it. So then we have Victoria, who she's looking for facts, not feelings. She wants to understand why the monster species are so much more satisfied than humans and than her. But the handsome Mothman volunteers to help aid her academic study and wants to stimulate more than just her intelligence. So this is also a heroine who she doesn't come very often. And so when they start doing some of these experiments together, part of her rule, she's like, we'll try all these sexy things you want to do, but you can't try to make me come. You just have to let me enjoy it. She's like, I like it just fine, but don't try to force me in anything. So of course Elias is like, well, of course I want to respect what you want. But it is very difficult for him because not only, you know, is he a part-time escort and his whole purpose is to please, but just as a partner, he wants to please his partner. And so it's a very interesting dynamic to see where the way to please your partner is to not try to get her to orgasm, as it were. But the more they get to know each other, the more she's willing to let him try things to get her there, we'll just say. So really, really liked this one. It just came out a little while ago, and I love the whole series. But yeah, this one was number 3, and it was great. I loved it. Okay, and then I want to round it off with, again, a good old throwback that it just deserves the love. And I feel like it's a good time to read it because Sarah Kate just announced that she will be doing a second generation to the Salacious Players Club, which is just, I'm excited for that. I love second gen series, though I will admit that second gen to a erotic romance series is always like a little weird to me because I don't know, but I'm still excited. So there's Praise, of course, by Sarah Kate. This is the good old original cover, Daddy Emerson, that set the world ablaze, right? And really just catapulted Sarah Kate to the stratosphere. I still remember I got an arc of this one off of NetGalley, and just waiting for this book to come out, I knew how crazy people were going to go for it. And it was so exciting to see her just explode. It's been amazing. But anyway, this one is a ex-boyfriend's dad, and we have Charlie, who she has been broken down and wounded by her emotionally neglectful ex, aka Emerson's son. And so she stumbles into a new job with a boss who brings her to her knees, literally. So Emerson Grant tells her that she's more than good enough, that she's worthy of praise. And with him, she's treasured and adored, and she's his. So the way that they first meet is she needs to go see her ex-boyfriend's dad to get her, I think it's the security deposit back for their apartment, because she needs that money to get into her new place. And Beau has just like refused to help her out with it. He's a total dick in this. And so she shows up there. Now, Emerson, he partially owns the Salacious Players Club with his partners, and he really enjoys like service submissives. And so his friends have like made sure he always has one to be around and help him get through his day. But he doesn't want another one right now. He just wants to focus on the work. They're really working on vamping up the club. So when Charlie shows up to talk to him, and she happens to fit a lot of the categories that he likes for a service submissive, he just assumes that it's her, and he orders her to get on her knees. And it isn't until, you know, they stumble through a couple of interactions that she finally admits who she is, and then he's a bit horrified that he had his estranged son's ex-girlfriend get on her knees for him. And that is when the job offer comes in, because he feels a little guilty, and also he wants to help her out. And as she learns about what his business is, she's actually interested in learning more about BDSM, because there was something very appealing to her when he asked her to get on her knees. So he agrees to help her learn some of those things, but of course it can't ever be sexual. We can't have it be sexual between us at all, but that's not going to last very long, because they both want it, and how long are they going to be able to resist it, you know? So anyway, that starts off the Salacious Players Club, and if you haven't read it by now, I mean, I don't know what you're doing, but it's fantastic. I love pretty much that whole series. I think I love 4 out of the 6 of them, and the other 2 are still really good as well. So thank you so much for watching, my friends. This has been some smutty, steamy, spicy romances for you. I will have links to all of them down below. If you would like to support this channel, please check out my Patreon or channel memberships. I also have Ko-fi if you'd like to send a one-time donation, or my wish list if you want to send me a book for my beautiful shelves. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.